This time we're going to take a look at what's new and cool in external access in Microsoft 365, including some very cool features in Teams called shared folders. So if you're ready to learn, stay tuned. Greetings my fellow YouTubers, welcome back to the channel. I gotta say, you guys are an absolute bunch of stars. I've just hit 14,000 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough, and it's fantastic to have every single one of you on board. And if this is your first time here, then you are really welcome. I'm Andy Malone. I'm a Microsoft MVP as well as a Microsoft certified trainer, and on this episode we're going to take a look at external access and really kind of focusing on some of the new and cool features in Azure Active Directory and also in Microsoft Teams as well. Specifically, we're going to talk about shared folders, which are super cool. They are currently in public preview, and you definitely got to try them out. So if you've not subscribed, then of course go ahead, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and you won't miss out on the good stuff in the future. And of course, if you've got questions, comments, and feedback about this or any of my other sessions, then please just get them down below. Okay, so I think without any more jibber jabber, I think it's time to hit the demos. Let's have a look. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these new features. And first up, just to show you, I've got a couple of tenants here. I've got a tenant called Adatum, and I've got another tenant here called Contoso. And they're both premium tenants. They're both E5 tenants, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter is that there have been a few updates in terms of external user properties. And the first of those is here in the cross-tenant settings. And you can see here that we have got both inbound settings and you've also got outbound settings. Okay, so cross-tenant settings kind of works like this. We have a couple of sheet tabs here. The first one is the default settings, and if you click onto the inbound settings, you can go in here and you've basically got three options here. So B2b collaboration, and this is essentially traditional guest access settings that we've had for a long time. So for example, with traditional guest access, are you going to allow block access? And in this case, we're allowing everybody. Likewise, do you want to allow guests to access applications? Yes or no? And the interesting thing that this brings is the fact that you can also now trust, for example, if the other tenant's using multi-factor authentication, if they're using compliant devices, hybrid devices, and so on, you can trust those devices if you want to. So that's the external. So that's the inbound settings. And of course, what you also do is you need to think about that's what you're going to allow in. And with the outbound settings, likewise, again, B2B collaboration, this is standard. But this B2b Direct Connect, this is at the moment specifically for Microsoft Teams shared channels. So it's a new feature currently in public preview, very exciting feature. And I kind of get the feeling that the Teams is just the beginning. So I think there's going to be a lot more in here. So this is just what I've done here. Again, this is inbound and out, but this is my outbound setting. So I'm allowing access out for all of my users. And at the same time, I'm also going to grant full access to applications. So inbound and outbound. And just to explain, I've also gone ahead and done the same thing in Contoso. So the external identities are exactly the same. So the other thing I just want to inform you of, in fact, let me just go back to that a second. There is one other thing here. So in the cross-tenant access settings, there is the organizational setting, and you have an option to add an organization. So all you would do is simply find out the tenant ID of the tenant that you want to collaborate with, and you can find that here. So for example, here's Contoso, and all I would do is I would simply copy that tenant ID, and I would then just add that in. So if I just paste that in here, you can see, oops, sorry, I need to add it in here rather, I should say. So if I go ahead and add that in, you can see it's picked up the Contoso tenant. Now, the problem with this is actually an allow list. Yes, and if I go and add allow here, it blocks access to everything else. You understand? So it's an allow list. Whereas if you leave it blank, it means it's allowing all connections, all organizations. Yes, whereas if you add an organization, it's only those organizations. Okay, that's really important. Okay, now, so that's pretty much where we're up to there, and that's the first thing. Now, the other change, which is interesting, is if I go into users, the user portal has also changed slightly. And in the past, we could go in here and choose a new user or a new guest user, and you'll notice that that's now changed. And we can now invite an external user. All right. So once you've invited that external user, that user will then come in as a guest, and you can see it's detected that it's an external Active Directory where that user account is coming from. So that's the first thing. They're no longer called guest users, they're now called external users. And the reason for that, I think, is if we flip over to, let's say, Microsoft Teams. So if I come into, let's say, Microsoft Teams here, let me just come into the Teams Admin Center. Okay, so in Teams here, there are, again, a few things that we need to note. And the first of those, of course, was external access in Microsoft Teams. All right. Now, there was always a bit of confusion between guest access and external access. And in the past, I always mentioned that external access allows users to communicate. Well, it's actually more than that now. And in fact, if I scroll down here, this is kind of new. So Teams accounts not managed by an organization. So this is new. External users with Teams accounts not managed by an organization can contact users within my organization, and thus you can then collaborate. All right, so this is a new thing here. Now, in addition to this, there's also something else that's new as well. And if I just scroll down here, this is enhanced encryption policies. And enhanced encryption policies, essentially what they do is they secure end-to-end encryption. Now, to be honest, you would probably want it on. So you can see that in this demo, it's actually off by default. So if you want this on, you can switch it on, but you can switch it off, but then allow your users to switch it on, as opposed to just switching it on completely. So that's kind of important especially for secure communications. Now, the other thing that I just want to mention is I'm just going to pop up here in Teams, and I'm going to come into the Teams update policies. Now, if you want to take advantage of this new shared channels feature, because by default shared channels are in public preview, you need to switch the feature on. So what we do is we come into Teams update policies, and if you go into the global policy, we have something called the Office Preview. Okay, so just make sure that the Office Preview is switched on here. That's the first thing. So the other thing that I want to do is I'm just going to go up here to the Teams policies. And again, I've got this organizational wide policy. And you can see that I've gone ahead and I've switched on shared channels. So this is a new feature. So you're going to allow users to invite other users to shared channels and also join shared channels. Now, if you switch that on, that can take a little bit of time before it's enabled. Okay, so if it's not working for you right away, take a break, come back a few hours later, and you'll probably find that it's actually switched on. So this is on for us now. And the other thing that I just want to mention is, if I go in, I've got a Microsoft 365 group here, and it's called Oslo Sales. One of the things to do, of course, is before you can share any kind of channels in Teams, one of the things you want to make sure that you've got email switched on. So now that we've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm heading over to Microsoft Teams here. And the first thing is here, you'll notice that there is a little P on the top right-hand corner of my user. And that means that my tenant is actually in public preview. And to do that, if you just go on the little ellipse here, about, and you can see that if I switch public preview off, so let me just do that and just show you the difference. Okay, so now if I just, let's say, for example, I've got a team here, and let's say I want to create a new channel. So I'm going to add a channel, and I click on the drop down arrow, and you can see that I've only got 2 channels. So you can either do a standard or a private channel. So now what I want to do, of course, is I want to go back to that ellipse, click on About, and I want to now enable the public preview. And this will switch the tenant, or the Teams client rather, over to this public preview option. Now that we're in public preview, I'm going to scroll down, and here is my Oslo Sales. And what I want to do is I'm just going to go into Oslo Sales in here, and I'm going to click on the ellipse here again. And I'm going to say, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to manage this channel, delete the channel? And you can see it's because I've selected this channel at the moment. So what I want to do is, I want to add a channel. And this time I'm going to call this my Oslo Collab. I'm going to call it Oslo Collab, but I'm going to make it a shared channel within the organization, and I'm going to share this with everyone on the team. Now, if you don't want to share that with everyone on the team, and let's say only specific users, just take the checkbox out and click Create, and you could then add in individual users. However, for this occasion, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add everyone in. So I'm adding that channel in. All right, so do you want to share the Oslo collaboration channel out? I think I can skip that if I want to. So let me just do that. And the first thing that you'll now notice is that you'll notice that the Oslo collaboration channel has now appeared. And of course, one of the things I may want to do is you may want to share this channel out with other team members or groups or something like that. And you can see we've now got this share channel. So you can share the channel with people, with another team, or with the team that you own. Okay, so for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to just add some people, and I'm going to add in Adele. And you can see Adele's coming in. I could bring in Alan. And again, Alan will come in here. And I think we've got a user called Bianca. Let's bring in Bianca. So I'm going to share that with these folks. Now, what if it's somebody outside of your organization? So what I'm going to do here is I'm now going to flip over to my other tenant. And I'm going to, let's see, who have we got? in here, I have got a user called Diego. So let's have a look at Diego. I want Diego. He collaborates with our company. We do business with this company. So I'm going to copy his details here. And again, I'm going to come back now to my ADatum tenant, and I'm going to add Diego in. And as I add him in, you can see that it's picked him up as an external member. Okay, so I'm going to share this with him, and Diego will now get an invite. So he's going to get an invite in his email, and he'll be notified that he's got access to this group. And once he's accessed the invite, clicked on the invite, he'll then have access here. So that invite is going to go and get sent to him now. Now, you'll notice that when Diego's been admitted into the team, he actually comes in as member permissions. Because of course he's a Microsoft 365 user, but that is such a cool feature. So you can now have this dedicated shared channel. So if you're collaborating with users, they don't need to be complete members of the entire team, only specific channels. Isn't that a cool feature? The final thing here is I just want to mention that if you go into the Oslo collaboration, you can see that we've got the little link here. That shows me, of course, that it's a shared channel. Just once again, I'm going to go in, I'm going to manage the channel. And again, I just want to show you, if I click into the member settings here, and you can see that Diego has come in. Interestingly, you'll notice that Diego's picture has come in. All of his details have come in as well. And you can call him, you can communicate with him. So that's really nice feature. And you can see that the users come in from this organization, and also he's a member user here. The other thing, of course, you can also see any invites that have been sent. So if, for example, if Diego's accepted an invite, and also like anything else, you can also customize and control the member permissions. Now you'll notice that the member permissions are slightly different to kind of your regular channels here as well. So here you can allow members to create updates and remove tabs, give members the option to delete their own messages. So again, that's almost like the difference between WhatsApp and Facebook. So in Facebook you can delete your messages, but in WhatsApp you can't. Give members the option to edit messages. So just to show you that these things are on by default. Now this feature is currently in public preview, hence the little P above the user here. So, but you can switch back at any time, and you can switch back to the standard regular preview as well. Now, if you enjoyed that, please go ahead and bump the like button. It really does make a great difference to my channel. Now, as always, it's time for question time. Okay, so this week's question of the week comes from Warren K, and he says, another good video, Andy. I watched the video and you answered a question at the end of the video. Do you know if Microsoft has the necessary security in SharePoint that is needed for companies required to implement the National Institute of Standards and Technology on NIST Cybersecurity Maturity Model, or CMC, and where might I find the documentation on this? Well, Warren, you're absolutely right. And as I promised, I would respond. So I'm just going to flip over back to the portal here. I'm going to come into the Compliance Center. Now, this is Microsoft Purview. So if you come into the Microsoft Compliance Manager, Okay, and this is essentially where you can do all your assessments and to help you with your NIST assessment if you go into the assessment templates. Now in here we do have, there's two categories. There's a whole bunch of different templates here for included, so you get the different assessment templates and you get these included, so things like GDPR, ISO 27001, SOC reports and things like that. But there are also some premium templates. Now what these cost, because this is a demo account, how much it costs I'm not sure. You need to obviously check with Microsoft, but I do know that you can purchase these individually. So to do that, if you just scroll down here, and as I scroll down through the list, sure enough, you will see they're all here. Yes, so that's your answer, and essentially you can go in to the different templates, and as you know, it's a shared responsibility model, so Microsoft do their bit and you of course need to do your bit. So it lists all the controls here, so for example things like access controls, and it tells you about the different controls, and more than that, it tells you about the steps that you need to perform to fix the issue. And you can see what regulations it conforms to, what kind of control it is, and so on. And again, it's a fantastic tool. Check out Compliance Manager. Now, I also have to do a quick shout out to Hans Peter. Hans Peter, I have to eat humble pie. He says, great video, I love your story, but something slightly wrong. A mail-enabled security group is not a security group with a mailbox. It's a security group with a distribution list. You know what, Hans? You are absolutely bang on. You're absolutely right. It's a mail-enabled distribution list. Or Microsoft are actually renaming this to become contact groups in the not too distant future. So watch out for that name change. But yes, you're quite right. It doesn't have a mailbox. It's only using a distribution list. Well spotted, my friend. It's great to see eagle-eyed people out there. You know, I like to be kept in check. So you just carry on doing that. All right. Hey, listen, if you enjoyed this session, please bump that like button, and it really does make a difference to the channel. And once again, thank you so much for helping me reach 14,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate it. Hey, listen, questions, comments, anything at all. It could be your question that's featured in next week's question time, of course. Then just get them down below. I really do appreciate you coming by, and you stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Hey, thanks so much for dropping by today. Here's a couple of videos that you may enjoy, and while you're here, go ahead, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss out.